H. Wainhouse is the Distinguished Research Professor of Theology, Law, Culture, and Archaeology at Faith International University and Seminary in Tacoma, Washington. He and his wife Irina have taught and directed many tours in the Mediterranean and Middle East, including Israel, Greece, Egypt, Jordan, Italy, and Turkey, particularly with the Biblical Archaeological Society. Dr. House has taught biblical and theological studies at several universities and seminaries during a teaching career of over 50 years and has written 150 articles and 50 books, including the Evangelical Dictionary of World Religions, The Jesus Who Never Lived, Exposing False Christs and Finding the Real Jesus, the Zondervan Handbook of Biblical Archaeology, Israel, the Land and the People, an Evangelical Affirmation of God's Promises, and editor of the Nelson NKJV Study Bible and Nelson New Illustrated Bible Commentary. Dr. House is the general editor of the Evangelical Exegetical Commentary Series, 44 volumes, with Logos, Faith Life. It is the knowledge amassed from these experiences, along with the assistance of biblical scholars at a variety of universities and seminaries throughout the world, that provides the information contained in his latest project, the House Visual Study Bible Online. Thank you for joining Archaeology and the Lands of the Bible with Dr. H. Wainhouse.
And here we are again. This is number 7. So it's interesting. Interesting that we got this far.
That's true.
And I like our intro video. It really makes it look like Wayne knows stuff. So I appreciate that.
Did you know what?
What happened?
I may have learned a lot about theology and odds and ends, but I do not know how to work a computer. Because you have gone away. I don't see myself or you.
Well, I can see you just fine.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm sure glad you can see it. I want to see the group too. So where has it gone?
Oh, no.
Well, since I'm not seeing your computer, I could not tell you at all.
I tell you what, I'm pushing everything I can find on this computer screen, trying to find something that actually shows you guys. I saw you just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we were there.
Well, you may have it covered up with something else you opened in the meantime. I don't really know.
I don't know. It could be. Well, anyway, I can talk to you if I can't see you, but I'm going to try to find you here pretty quick.
Just look straight ahead like you're pretending.
You're probably going to want to find us because you're going to want to see the wonderful PowerPoint stuff that you have going on here.
That might be an issue. That might be an issue. Let me keep going here a moment. It's got to be here somewhere. I'm going to have to get 3 screens maybe. Let's see.
You have a lot of screens there, huh?
That would be under me looking at the PowerPoint or not?
I'm sorry.
You're looking at something, but it's not the front. You're looking on the side. Is that you? There you go. Now you're looking forward.
Now we can see your face to face. But see, that's the mic. That has nothing to do with what he can see.
Right. I can't see you, though. That's what I'm looking for. Give me just a moment. I'm sure if we keep talking, I'll get it done.
We see him wandering around there in a pile of rocks, mostly, is what we see.
That's for sure.
Somewhere there's you guys. I can't believe what happened. It just sort of went away. Just a moment. Hang in there. We can keep talking while I'm looking. Okay. I can introduce some things that while we're going through this.
Well, I'm gonna give my greetings here to Denise.
Oh yeah. We have somebody on the chat.
Yeah, we do. It's kind of nice.
Well, actually, I told a number of people, but we'll see what happens.
Sure.
Let's see.
Well, maybe Denise is number 1. I don't really know.
Finally, I found you.
Oh.
It says you guys are the StreamYard Studio.
That's us.
So that's where I know it. Okay, now you notice that apparently Faber just left because he saw the things that are going on.
Well, now he's coming back. I think he's getting treats or snacks, maybe popcorn.
Well, listen, why don't you should provide that for us.
I hope he shares.
We should put in an order for that.
Oh.
I see what happened. He's got the shirt on, so he thought, I have to leave now.
I was getting an AC adapter.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, we got it all now. We're in good shape.
Are we good? We're good.
So, we're going to do something a little different tonight. We are there's that guy again. He keeps showing up in the back of me every time we do this.
I know.
Yeah,
He's right
I
behind
know.
you.
He just hangs around. But
He hardly moves ever. He just sits there.
he's always pointing his finger at my back. I'm not sure what that means.
Yes.
But anyway, we have been dealing with, Turkey was in the various churches. We've divided it up into the 7 churches itself. We divided it up into some of the important church groups, things happening, but those things that are not in the book of Revelation, like Hierapolis and Colossae and some of the others. But tonight we're going to tackle something quite different, and that is a couple of areas. It's not so much like a church or even a local city, but it's actually an entire empire. Like Hattusha is an empire. It's a country that exists within the area of Turkey, or what would be Asia Minor. And then we'll also look at a place called Cappadocia. And I think I'm not sure which one's first. I think it's Hattusha on the outline. But, and there's things happening different at different times. And so we'll talk about that. Earlier, the question of Hattusha, that goes back in the time of the fights with Egypt and Assyria and everything. That goes way back. And then we'll look at Cappadocia, which was always there, but it's even mentioned, for example, of people at the day of Pentecost. They're mentioned as having come from Cappadocia. And so some of the ones that were there on the day of Pentecost were from that area. But that's an area actually that Peter did some work in. A lot of people don't know that, but in his 1st and 2nd Peter, he was working in that area of Asia Minor. So you start looking at the apostles, they didn't stay around too long into Judea or whatever, that area. They spread out like Paul into Asia Minor and Greece and so forth, even as Peter did, into the area of Cappadocia. So that's sort of going to get us going, and we're going to look at first. I'm going to get the outline that you have for me. It's right there. You got it all set up?
I do.
So ancient Hattusha, that's how you say that. Now, some words, I'll be honest with you, and you'll get an opportunity to experience it with me. That is, the Hittite language is apparently not an easy language.
It doesn't look like
this, I don't even know if I can say it, Supililuma.
Oh, boy.
For that. Donald, you've heard that word before?
I didn't hear it this time, so I couldn't tell you.
It's long. It's a long word, and it's either Supililuma or Shupiluma. When I go down the South Pacific, I know people there. The king's name was Tuitafa'autupofa.
There you go.
And that's how you greet him.
That's probably where they came from. Yeah.
Yeah. So the names sort of pick in that. So we have this discussion of what's going on in Cappadocia, which is very important, but more so not so much because a couple of people or whoever came from that area to the Feast of Pentecost and received the Spirit of the Day of Pentecost. They would have probably gone back to their country. And there's some interesting things about that, but more important is in fact Hattusha, because it became a great empire, and in some respects, what you find at Cappadocia, their governmental system is somewhat similar to the British system. They were not like the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and others who had kings that ruled over them, and they were considered gods. The king at Hattusha was in a more monarchical system where there was a governmental system that operated with him, and they viewed that when he died, he became a god, but he was not a god during life, which is very unusual in the ancient Near East. So there's a lot of differences between the area of Hattusha and what we see in the rest of Asia Minor itself. So those are just some initial impressions that you may want to understand. But we're going to go into this and look at it. If you'll see first here, ancient Hattusha. And here's what's sort of funny. I get a real kick sometimes at some biblical scholars as they try their best to find something the Bible is historically wrong on, are that is, it's things in the Bible that are mentioned that never really existed. It was all made up or something like that.
Right.
And they used to say in the late 1800s, when they were working on trying to find some of the archaeological sites, and it was very, a lot of things were going on at that time. Many scholars said there was no such place as Hattusha, or the Hittites. The Hittites were only in the Bible, even though they're mentioned, and I get different figures. I got to go sometime and count them all. Some people say 47, 48, 50, whichever way it is, and it may be variations of the reason why they added a couple others, possibly different spelling. But the area of the Hittites was, in fact, a very important country that had so much information, and people said it never existed, even though the Bible mentions Hittites nearly 50 times. And can you think of some places that you might have a Hittite that's very obvious?
No, I don't.
The time of David would be a good solution.
You mean yes, time periods? Yes.
Who was a Hittite? I'm going to start counting off grades here. Where's my pen?
Get that red marker.
Don't move ahead. One way we do this thing is I'm going to teach you things and tell you things so you can know, but I like to see you have to think and come up with ideas too. It's a learning experience, like a classroom. And if you think in the Bible in the time of David, does that help at all?
Was he like one of the enemies of God?
No, he actually was a very faithful soldier in the Israeli or the Jewish army.
Oh.
I'm thinking of the name Uriah, just wild.
Yes.
Uriah the Hittite.
There we go.
Of course.
Uriah.
From the mouth of babes comes the evidence. MJ, can I say that?
Okay.
Okay.
Do I get an A++?
You got an A+, and all these adults failed.
Yay!
Morgan is one of our
stars. The Hittite, he was married to a woman called Bathsheba. And David, he should not have been on his balcony looking down around the city because he had too much of a vantage point. Anybody ever been to Israel? Let me see your hands.
He should have been out in the wars. It was the time for the kings to go out in war.
Well, if you go to where we can see the city of David, if you'll go to it in Israel sometime when you go on one of our tours, I hope. We are going to Turkey, by the way, here in just a couple of weeks or more from now.
Oh, my goodness, it's coming up.
But, yeah, James, you're coming, right?
I wish. I'm going to go in Spirit. Not Spirit Airlines.
You're going in Spirit?
Spirit Airlines. He's
Not
Spirit Airlines. Yeah.
I'll take the Spirit Airline.
I don't want to fly that.
But to explain it, you see the Sea of David. It's if you look, you'll see at the City of David. You'll look up at the current Temple Mount. You go looking up. It's a hill going down,
right?
And so you just keep going down, down, down till you get to the Valley of Hinnom at the bottom, and then you have a place called the Pool of Siloam. That all ring a bell with you yet?
Oh yeah, the pool.
So that's what you have, and the city going down. So David was out on the balcony. He would be looking down on the entire population center, and you had Bathsheba, who apparently had maybe an outside pool or something or other. Anyway, he saw her bathing, and then of course we know what happened with that, and it was a terrible situation for God's punishment of him for doing such a thing, and also for the fact that he had Uriah put at the heat of the battle to be killed, and that was considered murder. It wasn't. It was deliberately to get him killed. So that's all. That's all important. He's a Hittite. That's only one.
Yeah.
You have another one with Abraham. You have Hittites mentioned several times in the Bible. I had the pleasure of being a good friend and spending time with Harry Hoffner. You know the name Harry Hoffner at all?
No. Was he a Hittite?
Huh?
Was he a Hittite?
No, he was not a Hittite, although he could speak Hittite.
Oh, well,
he's the one that did the Hittite grammars, the Hittite dictionaries. He graduated from Dallas Theological Seminary, and he went and taught at the University of Chicago for his lifetime.
Oh boy!
So he passed away. And he was a man that I solicited, being the editor of the Evangelical Exegetical Commentary, solicited to write some of the books that would have dealt with this period of time in the Old Testament. And so he and I sat and talked about Hittite. I could tell you some interesting things. He said he sometimes dreamed in Hittite.
Oh Lord, how'd you do that?
And then also another thing, a guy who was the head of the area there, the department, he had been trying to win to the Lord at Chicago. And the man had a dream, and he told Harry about it. And what God had spoken to him in Hittite and told him that basically his judgment was coming soon. And he died later that afternoon after he told Harry that.
It was very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't paying real close attention time he should have.
Right.
So that's sort of interesting. I thought the whole.
I just did a search, and I have Hittite in the ESV version 57 times.
Oh.
57
in the ESV.
I know. I've checked out. I thought 50 of them, and people keep saying 47 or 48. So 57. I'm gonna have to get a list of those. I'd like to have them for my. How many have my Visual Study Bible right now? Anybody?
I do.
1, 2,
I do.
3, 4. He voted twice.
Not yet.
Not yet, you said.
Okay, so there's another doubler. The fact is, when you do these kind of projects, I want to put it so that there's clarity when a person's reading the Bible. I know, I was one of the editors of the Nelson Study Bible. You know that already. It's the fact is there's a lot of details, and I want to have precision when I give this to people so that they can actually go and see what the text is saying on these things. And unlike where your normal Bibles, where you have to look and look and look and look for things, if you go to what we're trying to put together, you can click it and you can immediately go to wherever you need to in your references and immediately go back to where you were.
Yep.
I hated always looking for references in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So this is so quick to do it. But anyway, don't leave them about that.
No.
So 57 Hittite. I'm going to get it a list from you, okay?
Somebody had a question there for you.
Yeah, the question.
Yeah, I have a quick question. At what point in time was the land of Israel referred to as Palestine?
Oh, when it was called Palestine?
Yeah, was it during the time
that occurred
when Jesus was actually alive or afterwards?
Yeah,
After.
Well, it really was never called Palestine per se. I'll explain what I mean by that. What happened is that you had an area of land that was called Philistia, which is on the side.
Right.
Even the area where it is right now, they call the Gaza Strip kind of thing. That's Philistia. That was inhabited by Greeks from Crete, or possibly even some other sea people. They were not Semitic at all. 700 years after the time of Christ is the Arab who were terrorists, which just seems to be a habit with Islamic individuals. He came down into what we think is the land of Israel, and they took over the entire area and also were living in the area of Philistia. But what happened is after the destruction of Jerusalem by a man by the name of Hadrian, who became emperor of Rome, he brought, whereas in the war with Jerusalem in AD 70, there were only 3 legions of Roman soldiers brought in to defeat him. When Hadrian came in, he came in with 10 legions of Roman soldiers. It shows you how ferocious this thing was.
Yeah.
Because there was a problem with a man who was claiming himself to be a Messiah. And he was fighting against Rome. And Hadrian said, I'm going to settle this thing once and for all times. So he came in and he defeated Bar Kokhba, Simon Bar Kokhba. And when they took it over, not only did they destroy the temple area like it was, they built a temple to Zeus there. They built a temple to the goddess Aphrodite, where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre sits today. And they also built another shrine outside of Jerusalem in Bethlehem to a place that was called it was I can't think of the god that was connected. It was a minor deity. I can't think of it right now. But that's what he did. And then he divided the country into 4 areas. It would be Philistia 1, 2, 3, and 4. Except they did not use the word Philistine. They used the word Palestine, which is a Latin form of Philistine. That's where the word Palestine came from, AD 135.
Okay, so the reason why I ask is because in some Bibles, like the ESV, and I think even the NKJV Study Bible, if you look at the maps in the back, one of them, it'll say the land of Palestine, instead of Israel. And I was always wondering, why don't they say Israel? Why do they just say Palestine?
That is a problem. That is a problem. And we tried to rectify some of these things in the in the Nelson Study Bible at one time, because certain terms were used certain ways. And I like to have Israel shown instead of Palestine, because Palestine is a later invention.
Or I've even heard of Jesus referred to as a Palestinian Jew, or that the Gospel of Matthew was written by a Palestinian Jew.
There were no Palestinian Jews anywhere, ever.
Right.
This is something that people create, and you say it long enough and people believe it. But like I'm saying, the word Philistia gave rise to the word Palestina, which is from the Latin. When Hadrian did this, he divided the land up of Judea and Samaria. He divided it all up into 4 segments.
Right.
He had 1, 2, 3, 4 of Palestina from Philistia, which was the form used by the Greeks at that time when they were there. It was only when you had later on the combination of all these things that took place with the invasions of the Muslim hordes. And over time, we know that the Jews finally were able to take back their land, what we think of as most of Judea and Samaria. But the Gaza Strip thing has been maintained or kept.
Okay.
That's where the Philistines, or actually Palestinians, are. That's all Latinization. So it's all confusion.
It's just a word game.
Now, let me say one more thing, and I'll shut up on this one, because I think that's important to know. As a matter of fact, I thought about writing a book they call The Myth of Palestine, because people use it all the time, and the media use it all the time, and it confuses the whole issue of what's going on in Israel with the Jewish people and the Muslims.
Right.
It doesn't. What they claim isn't true. See, they came in 7 centuries after Christ. They weren't part of the original land. They weren't Semitic, and they were Semitic, but they were not in that place. Now, you will find that people in their maps are just simply using an old term that has gained usage. People don't question it. You just call it Palestine. But that never would have been done at an earlier period of time.
So would you say, and I don't want to derail our topic tonight, is it in there because of eschatological views?
I didn't catch that all.
So let me come a little bit closer. So would you say that they use that term because of eschatological views?
Well, people get to a habit of using things, see, and it gains acceptance all through the time. See, if it became known as Palestine, and people begin to just call it Palestine, because remember that the Jews basically were kicked out of their land again, because they were kicked out of the land I don't know how many times over the centuries, but they were kicked out, and then you get the Roman government. Eventually you have the Greek world that's in charge, and they just keep calling this thing by this name. So scholars, when they do maps and when they write, sometimes they just simply use the verbiage that has been adopted and became pretty well accepted.
Carried at the time,
but it's not consistent with the truth of what happened.
Right.
That's why they should drop the word Palestine. That is Israel. It is Israel with 2 basic components. And the thing that they call on the side, Gaza, that's a made up thing, and the area is part of Israel, is what it is.
Right. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, so that settles that. Well, let's go on and move on and talk about the issue of Hattusha. Now, look at this with me.
Hattusha.
these are just some examples of the kinds of things they found in archaeological discoveries. And also, some of these things were found and they are located in museums. If you ever go up to this area of Hattusha, and I was surprised I ever went up there, but I thought I just really do want to see that. I went in the middle of the winter, and I had a guide, and I spent quite a bit of time there. And we also went to Ankara, and we went to the Hittite Museum. So there's a lot of these artifacts you can see they pulled away from this site. But the place itself was the middle of the winter, and it's high in the land area, and it was a beautiful snowy day. I'll show that in a minute.
Wow.
So they were unknown in documents, see, but they found. I was starting off with the fact that scholars kept saying they don't exist, they don't exist, they don't exist, and all of a sudden they find thousands of cuneiform tablets and an entire civilization that was gigantic. And all of a sudden, you notice scholars, when they do that thing where the Bible's wrong, the Bible's wrong, the Bible's wrong, they forgot to come back and say, oh, by the way, we were wrong.
Yeah.
They never admit their pomposity, if you could use that. So that happened at the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, is when they came up with the land of Hattusha. And there's many, and I put 48 times here, and I'm glad to know it's 57 because I knew it. I thought it was a little more. But here's some examples. Abraham bought burial from a guy named Ephron the Hittite in Genesis 23. One of Esau's wives was the daughter of a Hittite, Genesis 36. David murders a soldier. We've already talked about that.
Uriah.
Right. And then Solomon's wives were among the Hittites. And of course, God claimed Israel's mother was a Hittite, they say, in Ezekiel 16. I don't know what that's about, actually. Let's move on to the next one. So we can work on through, and these are just some examples that you will see. The word Heth may be part of the problem. I haven't examined all of this, so I'm not going to say that I'm certain. But it could be that the variation between Hittite and Heth might be an issue. And so I'm just trying to figure out why we have more than the 47 or so that I've looked at so far, 48. So the word Heth, the Hittites is one of the nations God promised to give to Abraham's descendants. How about that one? The Jews can not only have Israel, they can take all of Asia Minor.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the last days and what God's going to do there.
Something's going to happen.
But nonetheless, you have Esau connected to the Hittites. All Hittites are listed among the nations whose land was to be inherited, as I just said. States of Hittites, along with those dwell in the mountains. And if you go to Hattusha, which is above Cappadocia, on our tour, we're going to be going to Cappadocia, and I'll show that to you. But Hattusha is higher than that. It's at the very top of the middle section of what we call Turkey today. They dwell in the mountains, that's for sure. And list them among the 7 nations to be dispossessed. Defines the land of the Hittites as extending to the wilderness of Lebanon. Now, we're going to look at a map on that in just a moment, and I'm not sure. It may be right on the very tip of that. Let's keep moving. So there's some other examples here, but there's other mentions. But I just want to move down to the fact that the Hittite kingdom was a great kingdom. Now, you've seen maps already, let's say, of course, you've seen them of Israel. You've seen them of Egypt. You've seen them probably in Assyria and Babylonia. The Hittite kingdom was a very expansive kingdom. It took up a good portion of all Asia Minor. And you've seen the Asia Minor because we did the 7 churches. And just think that almost all of that territory in the north, and as it spread to east and west and downward, took up about half of what you see in Asia Minor. Now, they were not particularly significant at that time. They didn't start out being a major kingdom. They gradually built that up through various means. But they actually they had difficulties with the Assyrians because the Assyrians were directly to the east of them, And then if they came down, they would come down actually right through the Strait of Israel and into Egypt. And there's a famous battle called Kadesh, or Kadesh, according to how you say it, that between Egypt and the Hittites. Believe it or not, though, even after that massive war between the two great powers, eventually they were able to make a treaty and became somewhat friends. But the Assyrians just continued to move in more and more and more and more until finally they actually were able to overcome the Hittite Empire. But then after that occurred, then you have the Assyrians, and then who conquered the Assyrians?
After the Assyrians,
You're gonna have to ask
Babylonians.
PK here. Okay, yes, the
BB.
Babylonians. And who conquered the Babylonians?
That was the Persians or Medo-Persians.
Persians, great. And that's about it.
Well,
So but the Hittites, even though they were not, they had a lot of people who were kings. You have a lot of things going on. They were never the kind of expansive power outside of the area of what we think of as Asia Minor. They did have some wars with people, the Assyrians, and also with the Egyptians. But they, generally speaking, were not expansive. They were not trying to take over Greece or take over Babylon and so forth. They were, again, I said they were sort of a very close to a British system, because you did not have an absolute king. You had a king who was the basic administrator of the country, but also you had a leadership under the king in making decisions. So it's sort of an unusual situation for the ancient world. Think about Egypt. Who was in charge of all of Egypt? One guy.
Pharaoh.
just a Pharaoh.
One guy. That's
Pharaoh,
it.
yep.
Whatever he said, he's a god. Whatever he says, you do it.
Yep.
You have the same kind of thinking going on in Babylon. You got the same thing in Persia, where they exalted their leadership to that point. But the Hittites were more like a democratic republic of some sort. So it's sort of interesting that that's so. Now, the reason I bring that up is because even though that they did not become the massive military power in the ancient world, outside of Asia Minor, they were very good about the area of law, and they created a legal system and legal documents that began to be even used by the Egyptians.
Interesting.
And also used by Moses himself. And how would Moses have been so knowledgeable about the international treaties between between what was going on in Hattusha and what happened to the Israelites?
He grew up in Pharaoh's court.
Yeah, and did he go to school?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're the Pharaoh, you train your children, right? They were trained by scribes and others to write and to be knowledgeable of military issues and to be in charge of governmental questions. They were preparing them to be a new Pharaoh. So they had to know these things. And so when Moses actually put together what we think of as Exodus and I'm trying to think how far that would be, but at least Exodus, maybe Deuteronomy some too, maybe the first portion of Deuteronomy, they were actually written in the same format that's used by the Hittites.
Makes sense.
Which is interesting. And I have some examples of that I put together in my notes to talk to you, because it's very difficult to just simply know all of this myself in my brain right now. But the fact is, there's what was called a suzerain vassal treaty. Now, you have there the Hittite seal ring. I'll since you put that up there, I'm going to wait for the Mosaic Covenant stuff for a moment. So what's a seal ring do?
It was a symbol of the king of their kingdom. They would usually they would use it to seal documents or stamp documents.
Yeah, and you would actually put rings like this for power, right? It came from them. It's like signing your signature.
Right.
You put it into the wax, and the document is secured. It has the power of the emperor or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what a seal ring is, in case you wonder. This was found by related to the Hittites. Look at the Hittite library. It's too bad these guys, they never existed, but they wrote 10,000 documents.
Jeez.
Okay, so keep going. Now we're going to look at the city a little bit. Hattusha was discovered by a guy's name who I don't know what it is. It's Boghaz Koi, I think, maybe. I don't know what that is. But they extended from Syria and Lebanon and so forth. But it's not the kind of long-standing rule. They tended to be fought by so much by the Egyptians and by the Assyrians that they begin to diminish more in their power. So you can see the breakdown of their country, and you sort of go backwards, 1750 down and so forth. But if you look at this map, you'll see the Hittite kingdom. This is what I'm saying. Look at where ancient Troy was. Remember, we talked about Troy, but where that little arm of the white from that, where it says Hittite kingdom, can you see that?
Hittite Empire.
All the way out to the...
in the tip, yeah.
Okay.
Close to the Black Sea,
that's where Ephesus is.
Woo!
See that?
Mm-hmm.
It's about Ephesus. It may be as far as Pergamum up, but it's close by.
Yeah.
And you have the Hittite kingdom goes all the way down to the bottom, almost to the area where you have Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
And notice it goes over into the area that was being controlled by Syria and somewhat probably also by Assyria.
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes on down into the area that would be the Strait of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice something about God, what he did when he sent Abraham to a certain land? Where was Abraham living when he started out?
Ur of the Chaldeans.
Ur.
Area around Babylon.
Yes.
In the great well-watered area,
Right, Mesopotamia.
Yes. And so, but the land is just a really narrow area of land. It's not gigantically big, and it goes all the way down to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem of that is that every time an army came through, they came through your land. If they're going to go fight Egypt, they got to come through Israel to do it.
Oh boy.
There's a sense in which without the help of God, they would always be conquered.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they turn around, some power far greater than they are would be taking them over. But for good reasons. If I were military, I'd want to have that over too, because you couldn't maneuver if you actually came through a country that could fight back very much. So one thing is that he put them in the way of great powers when he put them in Israel.
Yep.
But he also made them a people that could minister to the nations. I always thought that was an interesting idea, that God put them in the way both to minister to the nations if they would, but to be punished by the nations if they were disobedient.
Mm.
That's important. You read Deuteronomy, for example, when God talks about the blessings and cursings that he gave to Abraham.
Right.
He said, I'll bless you and then I'll curse you, according to what goes on here.
Right.
If you don't abide by my covenant, then you'll receive a curse. Your crops won't come in. Your locals will visit you a lot. People will come through your land, take you over. If that will be a punishment if you don't be obedient to the covenant.
Right.
On the other hand, if you are obedient, then you'll have plenty. God will bring your crops. He will do all these things, but he also will put them in a place where they will minister to the nations.
Right. Right.
So it's not an accident that Israel has been there from the very beginning with Abraham. God could have sent Abraham another direction, but he sent him right down through the place to get in the way. Does that sound interesting to you?
Very.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So they've been conquered so many times, but you can see Gaza there. Now take a look at Gaza. That's being a lot in the news. It's right there above Canaan, as the saint says. And so Gaza Strip is really a small little place. There's gonna be a guy on the tour. His name is George. That's all I'll mention. But George is a sharp guy in many ways. He did his work at Dallas under me. We became friends, and I was his professor. He went off to finish law school. It was about half the student body, I think, after I left there. I was always teaching him stuff that also to do with the law. And then he went to Harvard and did a graduate degree at Harvard. So he's a sharp guy. But on the other hand, he sent us an email this morning. He says he's going over into Gaza to see how things are going. You couldn't get me within 10 miles of maybe 20 or 30 miles.
Yeah.
But he's been in there already one time checking on people and their physical needs.
That's cool.
So it's interesting. But that's what you've got a picture now where the Hittite kingdom was. You know that where it's covering is the same place we're going to look at Cappadocia. The same as the Hattush is just a little north of Cappadocia. We're going to see in a few minutes. Now look at the entrance. This is a real entrance. If you were to go to Hattusha today, you would come to this. It's still there, I think. Unless they moved since I was there. They would put these animals out in front that are ferocious. What service did these animals have for them? You notice they're made of stone.
Yeah, not much going on there. Just
if you go to my house right here in Navasota, Texas, to go down the sidewalk, you'll see on the guy that I had this before me. On each side of the sidewalk, there's a line on each side, a little small line, but they're there. They're sort of like they ward off evil spirits or people that are going to do bad.
Scare off people.
I don't think it worked.
Whatever.
And it still doesn't.
Yeah.
You go to the Israel Museum, you see another example of these.
Yeah.
They're not probably as big as these are, but lots of countries put these idol-looking kind of animals outside their location, their cities, to ward off people that might come and defeat them. But I don't know why they didn't learn. It didn't do any good. But anyway, when I look at that, I think, why would you do that anyway?
Yeah.
So you go through this and you go into the city. Keep moving.
I would have put live ones.
Now, I told you I was there when the snow was, and what you're seeing here is a mountain that's been somewhat made. I'm going to show you in a minute the bottom portion of the city, but this city of place that's it's called Hattusha. It actually has 3 layers of land, and this is the second layer. And so what you actually do, if you have a road there now, it's the bottom where these stairs are, that goes around, and you can actually drive your car. I don't think it had it that way in the days of Hittite Empire, but you'd be at the bottom where you have the temple. At the bottom, you have houses and businesses and so forth. I'll show that to you in a minute. But then you would sort of work your way around like this until you get to the top. But here, I actually got up there. Go back down. I went up there, and you climb these stairs all the way. And when you're standing there, you can see over the entire city area. But the actual not castle, the palace is off to the right from this. So go to the next one. The palace is no longer there, but somebody has an artist's
rendition
of it. Are you still there? Or did you go somewhere, Don?
He's getting there.
Move forward.
Are you asking me to do something? I'm busy typing.
Next slide.
I'm ignoring you.
He said, "There you go."
I'll fire you if you keep this up. So you have the castle up there. There's only a drawing now, but there are remains of this castle area, this palace. And I'll show you the remains in just a little bit. But that's just sort of what we're talking about as they envisioned it being. Keep going.
They envisioned it being fuzzy, it looks like.
I'm sorry I didn't give it a shot.
I'm kidding. Come on.
Now, winter at Hattusha, can you see the walls?
Yeah, well.
See, that's higher up.
Yeah.
And these are the walls that would have been around the area of the palace. And it's a beautiful area there. The air was so fresh; it was really nice to be in.
Sure.
But it's a big area that they had to work in here in the area of the palace and outside. Continue on.
Cool.
Now this is fascinating, and I wasn't sure what this thing was until Harry Hoffner, I mentioned before, the Hittitologist. He explained what this was when I showed it to him. I couldn't figure out what was going on. What this is that you're going to see in a minute another little picture. Right now you see an opening, right?
Yep.
You're going to see something inside this opening in just a moment. And I came from the other side into this, and I hadn't sort of put it together in my head. He said this is for a flank maneuver. What would happen in the way this was designed, this was some of their modern technology at that time. An army coming up that way and getting on the way to the palace would pass by this, and then there would be a group of the army inside this who would actually come out this and get them from the back. Now, I think that happened in the war between the states too, stuff like that. You catch a person from the back, another beat from the front, and you find a way to fight.
Right.
Now, you may say, well, isn't that sort of obvious? They would know there's something. This actually was covered over.
Yeah, I would think
with
so.
various kinds of things, and would not have been viewed as being a place that the soldiers would be. Go to the next one. You'll go into this thing, and this is what it's like. This is the best I could do with taking a picture. I couldn't figure out how to deal with this. But if you go through that, you go all the way through, and that's where soldiers would have been lined up to come out and come to the back of the invading army that came to the top.
Okay.
Does that all make sense to you?
Yep.
Okay, continue.
Dr. House, can I interrupt with one observation? Yes. Yeah, that almost looks identical to a dolmen tomb called Newgrange, which is in Ireland. If you look up, I mean, it could be that this is even an earlier structure that the Hittite army then just used for their own military purposes. If you'll look up afterwards at Newgrange is what it's called in English, and it's called Brunaboyne in the Gaelic language, but it's which means the dwelling on the Boyne River, and it's in English they call it Newgrange, and it looks almost identical to that.
Okay, so a similar concept has been used several times before.
Yeah, my idea was that maybe they repurposed some dwelling that was already there, and they repurposed it for military purposes.
That's possible.
Quite possible, yeah.
That's possible. I'm not sure what that would be, but anyway, for their purposes, at least here, according to what Harry Hoffman told, that's basically the way you would take an army from both front and back.
Okay, we have another question on the board here for you.
Okay.
Is there a similar arrangement by God, post-crucifixion placement, where Satan must pass through Christ's followers to set up his throne on the earth, thus forcing disciples to beef up their faith?
Well, that's an interesting perspective. I just a similar. You took it away. I'd like to look at it a second longer.
There it is.
Okay, the post-crucifixion placement. You know, I do believe that God takes care of his people, not always in the way that they anticipate, but he has his own plans. But Satan is all over the place trying to make things happen. And so I'm sure that when I read the story of the temptations, and when I think about what would have been seemingly the best thing Satan could have done in reference to Jesus to frustrate the plans of God, is not have him go to the cross.
Right.
And he was involved in getting that to happen.
Right.
But his anger is such, and his mental processes are not operating properly because of his anger. And by the way, that always becomes an issue when you lose control of yourself. You can make some really bad decisions. The best thing Satan could have done was leave it alone. And yet God said from the very beginning in Genesis 3:15 what the thing was, how it was going to work. Messiah is going to crush the head of Satan. Satan's going to take a bite.
Right.
Jesus. And so I think that Satan has lots of plans to try to overcome the people of God and Christ and everything. But if we're true and careful to follow the Lord, I think that many of these things will work to the benefit of Christ and not Satan.
Exactly.
Similar kind of idea. This is a name I don't know if I can say. If you have to actually walk a ways from the city to come to this, this is not directly inside the city property. This is like across the street a few blocks.
Hmm.
You walk over here, and this is called Yazilikaya, and you walk down here. Go to the next.
Yazalakaya. Hmm.
Yazilikaya. I can't say anymore.
Sounds like Spanish. Yazalakaya.
Okay, next. Where's my man?
Oh, next.
Move forward.
Oh.
Somebody,
said, huh?
You ready for the next one?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, there I am, right as you're going into an area. Now, you just saw the other part that's broader.
Mm-hmm.
This is right at the entrance where you go into a worship shrine.
Ooh.
So it's not as though the things were sort of obvious to the public as much as that this is a secret or some kind of at least not obvious location where they kept sculptures of their deities.
Mm-hmm.
Got a number of deities, and they're hidden in here. So we'll walk through that together to the next slide. And see, you'll see if you can look to your right and look to your left. I came in on the right side of where I'm looking now, where I was standing, came up here, came around the edge, came down this way to go out the other direction. That's what they had.
Mm.
That was like a temple, which is unusual, but it's seemingly that way because all the times you'd have some kind of temple which you put the gods.
Mm.
And they put the gods in here, and it's traversed by the way in which you walk through it here. Go one more slide, you'll see the gods on the right. Now these are well developed. Can you see them up and down the way?
Oh, you mean on that wall there?
Yes, and that's where they had the areas of the inscription. They had actually the sculpturing of the gods.
Oh, that's what they did.
There.
Okay, I thought there were 7 dwarfs. They kind of look like with their hats.
Boy, I wish I had thought about that. Okay, now let's keep moving.
Oh, there's
this. I've always found to be the most interesting of all.
Yeah.
This is actually in a museum, but this actually had been probably in the area of the temple area. A statue of a goddess with either a baby or a head between her legs.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's the way it's expressed in the. That's what it says on the thing in the museum that I went to. This is where I picked this up in the museum. Notice it has animals on either side, but they can't figure out what's going on with this really person who needs to take a diet. God.
Yeah, something's going on there.
That's one of the most grotesque. I mean, when you go to the Greeks and you got Aphrodite or you got, they're so good sculpturing. These people were not very good at this.
Yeah, they didn't care for physiques.
I just laughed when I saw it. They were, how terrible work. Anyway.
And you take lessons from the Greeks.
This is an example of a cuneiform tablet, so let me just keep moving. You can't read it. I can't either.
So small.
I don't read Hittite. Now, this is the lower city I was talking about. When you're up high, where we were a while ago, we climbed up and went up together. Looking down, this is what you see. And the big area in the middle that has the opening a little bit, that actually was an ancient temple that people worshipped in. Okay. And then around that were places of business and also homes that people lived in. So that's the basic city area of the place.
So those red houses over there, that's the current population, and that
I'm sure this is only a portion of this kind of thing.
Yeah. See,
this is just what has been excavated. Doesn't mean there are not other places like it.
Right. But I'm talking. Is there a current city like right over there?
Oh, those over there are not. Yeah, those are modern cities.
Okay, so it's modern.
Yeah, they hadn't gotten to that place yet.
No. They haven't excavated their houses yet.
They're modern. They're non-Hittite people who live up close to this place. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, here's the dynasties. I don't expect anybody to remember all this stuff. I don't. So there are 3 major Hittite dynasties: the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom. That's pretty obvious. And the civilization lasted 570 years. That's not a extensive length.
No,
A lot of places far more than that.
sure.
Keep going.
Ooh.
I'm not going to go through all this for you. I'm just letting you know it's here. During this time, they're good political records. They were methodical in law and government and those things. They kept records of everything, which is what's so amazing about these scholars who said they didn't exist, and they had a wealth of information if they'd ever gone to the right place. You know, I always find it wonderful when the Bible is right and they're wrong.
Yeah, that's something.
So much arrogance comes with this other kind of viewpoint.
It sure does.
Well, here's a map of the Hittite Empire again. We've already seen this. Notice the new empire and the old empire. They sort of have three periods of leadership and the growth of the country. And so you can see the red, the light red, the dark red, and what happened is that when they came into contact with Egypt, when they came in contact with Syria, I don't think there was much with Babylon at the time. I don't think it had developed by that time. But the fact is, they had so many forces against them in battles, and they just didn't seem to be able to maintain themselves. They only existed less than 600 years, which is really not that long.
Right.
In reference to some of these countries. But they also were some of the more intelligent group of people, and I didn't get into that thing, and I should say just a few things about it before we move on. I said, you know, right here, they're advanced, a complicated system. Like I say, it's like a British system, a very superior to what you had in the ancient world. They did have treaties that were well written and done, and they discovered iron, which was very important in warfare. But they still couldn't fight against all these other groups that were fighting. But let me just point out a couple of things with you. And I give this out to my students, and I teach a group of students at Liberty University in historical backgrounds of the ancient period, basically Old Testament period. And I give them a copy of this. If anybody ever wants this, I'm glad to share it with you. But we have a pretty good breakdown of the fact of how what you find in the suzerain, what they call suzerain, who's a guy who wins, and vassal, the guy who lost. The vassal becomes the servant of the suzerain, right?
Okay.
So what you have is they actually created a treaty form that was used for hundreds of years and used even by the Egyptians and others. And it's used by Moses in writing Exodus and Deuteronomy. You can follow piece by piece by piece, and you'll see that Moses was actually following the Hittite treaty form. Now, here's something that's going to throw you a little bit. I know you saw the Ten Commandments, and I know you saw God writing on the tablets with the Charlton Heston there, right?
Right.
Now,
and that was actual footage from the day it happened.
That's for sure. I'm sure that it was passed down. Now, the fact is that you saw the writing of God on those two tablets, right?
Right.
But the way they did it, they did 5 commandments on the left tablet, 5 commandments on the right tablet. You notice that?
The middle tablet fell and broke, according to what's his name? Mel Brooks.
Oh,
what did you say?
That's another movie.
That was Monty Python.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Monty Python. Yeah, could have been
Monty Python.
One of those two.
Don't pay attention to Monty Python. He doesn't know any more than Biden.
I brought the 15 commandments. I mean 10.
Monty Python, think of President Biden. Okay, now
close enough. Yeah.
That's my political statement for the evening.
There you go.
Run away.
But here it's really interesting. Okay, hold it. So what they would do is that they would write commandments on one stone tablet, the same commandments on another stone tablet. That's the way it was done. And the thing that would happen is that you would write an entire detailed thing about the law that the deal you're making with the country that you conquered. As you conquered them, you gave them laws that you agreed that they would follow, and you dictated them to them. Okay, so they know what they have to do. But then they made a condensation of the law into tablets, in which one tablet, front and back, went into the temple of the god of the suzerain, and one tablet went into the temple of the god of the vassal. So there's a record of obedience.
Both.
Okay, and what the deal is. This is a deal we made. There. So when you have God having two tablets in the Ark of the Covenant, they are actually duplicates, most likely.
Copies of each other. Okay.
It's
So there was like a Xerox copy, basically.
because you don't have another God. See, God is in charge, so he doesn't need to make a tablet himself other than the one he has.
Right.
And the vassal, there is no vassal but the one that has the God,
Right.
Israel. So it's like the suzerain is both the vassal and the suzerain.
Right. Right.
So both of the tablets were inside the Ark of the Covenant.
Gotcha.
I always found that sort of interesting, but it's not like the Ten Commandments movie. Keep going, please.
Oh man, there goes my vision of greatness.
Oh, okay. That you were just talking about exactly that. Okay. So
Yeah.
Keep going.
Next. Oh, put it up on the.
Oh. Well, I'm busy looking at it. I don't need to show it to you guys.
Okay, there's some leadership issues. Under Hittite law, death was a rare punishment. This country, in some respects, maybe had a more kind and gentle kind of governance, the way they did things, and it may actually have been a weekness to them based on what was done in other countries.
Probably.
When you have murderers and people that come in and don't care about anything, we've seen this with the terrorists at Hamas.
Sure.
You know, they carry a lot of power with them with that. Keep going. They had a feudal system. We've looked at that. You had certain people, slaves, common people, artisans, fief holders, who were soldiers and merchants. And that, as I mentioned, the fact you also had the king and people that took care of him. But basically, they had a divided civilization up.
Another awful statue.
Yeah, I thought you liked. Hittite religion was heavily influenced. They were polytheists. That's not unusual. I don't think there's a single. I could be proved wrong, but I don't think I will be. I don't think there was any country in the ancient world that didn't have multiple deities except for Israel.
Yeah, probably.
So, Priest Scribe says, the more I listen to Dr. House, the more high respect I have for Moses deteriorates.
I don't know why that means.
I'm not sure why.
I'm not sure what that means. Moses didn't. He did a pretty good job by and large, considering all the problems he had.
Yeah. His job was kind of like herding fleas across a barnyard.
Pretty much.
Go back. You move past it.
Oh.
Okay. Let me just say this. So these gods were worshipped through idols. So the Israeli people, they were the most unusual in the entire ancient world. Sure. But there's a reason why that they were totally unique to the ancient world. All these other people are creating their gods, and Israel was chosen by their God. See? So that's why God said he did not want idols. He didn't want multiplicity of deities. There's only one God.
Right.
And so all these nations are different from Israel in that specific way. One.
Okay.
Trade was important, but I mentioned here the Battle of Kadesh or Kadesh. Went into a trade route. You found that the people of Hattusha began to have serious difficulties in reference to trade, economic stability, military, and everything. That's why they sort of went under. Keep going. They had a better system of government. They obviously ended in a truce, but it weakened the Hittites. The Egyptians became the most powerful after this point of time. Keep going. Now we're in a Cappadocia, and if you give me just a few minutes, I can do most of this. There's not as much to talk about in Cappadocia. I just want to show you what it looks like. A lot of us are going to be there. If you ever want to go to our trip to this is fascinating. This is one of the most unusual places on the face of the earth. Look at how the rocks are laid on top of each other, go on.
Wow.
The main thing about the Cappadocian area is this where three fathers of the church came that came to defend in the 4th century the deviation that occurred after Nicaea. In Nicaea in 325, the church fathers got together. They decided a legitimate doctrine of the Trinity and the deity of Christ in contrast with the heresy of Arianism, which is sort of like Jehovah's Witness theology, you know, this view of God. So they got it settled at 325, but then 2 or 3 of the emperors after that, and other people like Arius, who was very, very persuasive and worked among the people, you actually had a sliding down in the view of God, so that they went to Arianism after Nicaea. What happened, though, is that in AD 381, and Irina always loved this. My wife's name is Irina.
Oh, Saint Irina, yeah.
Church of Saint Irina in Istanbul, former Constantinople. That's where the actual council was held in Constantinople, the Church of Saint Irina.
Oh.
And that's where they decided, because of these three people and their writings and their speaking and their teaching and so forth, these three men are very, very important, because they brought the church back to a biblical Trinitarian view of God. Very, very important. And so here's the place, though, that they lived. Now, these little things sticking up everywhere are called fairy chimneys. You ask me why, I have no clue. That is what they're called, fairy chimneys.
Okay.
All sorts of unusual structures. Keep going.
Yeah.
This is latest pictures. You can keep on.
Wow.
Now here I am showing you in front of the fairy chimneys.
Okay.
You look at these things, you don't know what they are. You look like they're solid stone, but they're not. You can actually go inside many of these places through an area of 100 miles of it.
Wow.
You can go throughout these places, and you'll find churches inside the churches, inside these places, and beautiful murals and paintings all through them. And you also find people living in their homes in these places.
What?
I'm serious.
Wow.
So this right here was ancient Cappadocia. Very unusual. Keep going.
So you're actually standing in front of somebody's house?
You have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this, but if you go on a trip with me, I have some people going wanting to do it.
Oh, there.
Go there, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, you got to get up and go and get to the place where you take off on hot air balloons and float all over the area of about 100 miles there.
Holy moly.
So I have never done it. I've never had that interest in getting that far in the sky on a balloon. So I fly airplanes.
You wait till the rapture.
Yeah, I'm sure of that one. Keep going. See how it continues to be around the area. You'll begin to see communities that are around. You'll see houses and such. But this is the treatment underneath. Continue on.
Wowza.
This show, by the way, this is the only one that's actually from Bible Places. Todd Boland. This is not mine. This is from the that he is. But see the kind of landscape. There's no place on earth like this.
Yeah, very rocky.
Amazing location and it came by sometime during a period when there was a lot of I don't know, volcanoes or something that formed these
things. Or limestone of some sort.
Limestone, maybe at the flood, maybe did it.
Could be.
Keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's what some things look like inside. Some are better than others. These have been deteriorated some. You notice that some of these faces are defaced.
Yeah.
It's probably because this is after the Muslims took over. And so a lot of places you go to that formerly were Christians that now are occupied by Islam, they tend to go in and deface characters like Christ and angels and so forth.
This one looks kind of like the Wendy's.
Yeah.
Keep going. Again, this is these angels and so forth. They have all sorts of biblical scenes.
Yeah.
You find that also up in Istanbul with things that were developed by the early people that lived there, the Greeks at the time. Now, this right here is actually an entrance. I shouldn't say it's entrance. Above this is an entrance.
Okay.
They have an underground city in Cappadocia.
Ooh.
You can go deep in the earth where the people lived.
Wow.
And had church and everything. because they hid from the Romans and later they hid from the Muslims in this underground city. And you'll go to some of these rooms and they'll have a big iron, not iron, but a big stone, kind of like you'd roll back and forth, and it have a hole in the middle of it. It's a place. It's not for a key. It's you could actually, if somebody's trying to get in, you could use your spear and spear through it.
Oh,
Keep moving this.
interesting.
There I am in another place, and you get all the way down through this city is always underground. Is all underground.
Wow.
Continue.
That's it.
This is a piece of black.
Yeah,
Say what? That's the official. Yeah, we turn the light off.
that's
I
right.
do. Cappadocia is pretty. It's an interesting place, but it hasn't got a lot of things besides the important history of the three fathers who kept the church orthodox.
Mm.
Yeah. Any questions at the end of all of this?
I have one question, Dr. House. So is Hattusha actually the Hittite word for the Hittites or what?
I don't know. I don't know the name. I just know that's the name of the city they used. I don't know any Hittite per se. If Harry were still with us, I'd ask him for you. But there's probably a way I could find it out if you wanted me to find it. But they were quite a people, but they just didn't have what it took with all the necessary, probably war materials and other kinds of things to survive ultimately. But they had a better system of law, and even though they did believe in multiple deities, they still had much fairer law. In other words, it was not as harsh, and it serves as a basis of Mosaic treaties. Listen, next time, let's tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take off. And we're going to do the cities of Paul.
Oh, right.
We're going to study Corinth.
Yeah.
We're going to study Athens. We're going to look at Delphi, where the oracle at Delphi was.
Yeah,
We're looking at some places in maybe close to Athens on the other side. We're going to go up into the area of Philippi, Berea, where the people were careful to go study the scripture.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at Thessaloniki. That's what they say, but it's Thessalonica in the Bible. And then the place of Lydia, where she was baptized. We'll look at all those things as we go up into the area of what they call Achaia. Achaia, Acha. And that takes in basically the entire place of Greece, Thrace, and the area of what we think is Philippi.
Nice.
So that will be very interesting. I brought you this other not because it has a lot of things that we could look at like we can in the Bible sometimes, and as we look at other sites.
All right. Well, Eric has a question for you.
Oh yes, Eric Piment, Raggio
Eric
Christi,
Piment.
right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Were the three Cappadocian fathers contemporaries or bishops?
They were the
who
same time
succeeded
period.
one another? Over the same time, so they were contemporary.
Same time period, yes.
Okay.
And they were so important because, this is really weird to think about the fact you come together, you have a massive vote. It was like 325 people to 2 or something. It was a very small thing. They defeated Arianism, but after that, the emperors began to adopt Arianism thinking.
Figures.
It's terrible. And then these men came to the fore and argued very forcefully from Scripture, and were able to win finally over Theodosius. I didn't mention that, but the Emperor Theodosius was persuaded by these men at the end of the 4th century to embrace this, and you had a new council, and the church adopted a Trinitarian view, which has stood firm till this point.
Great.
Except in Unitarian churches.
Right. Except there.
And Mormon churches.
Yeah. Who else? And
Well, it's great to be. It's so fun to just see you guys and talk to you and
yes, sir.
explain things.
Well, for everyone else who's watching in, we're going to say to them, join us next week, 8:00 Central Time,
yes.
and we'll do something else, maybe new and exciting, or just tell jokes. Who knows?
Yeah.
Adios.
That's for the people that are